We ain't got no troubles, no reason to complain. Cause here in great old Britain, we just love it when it rains.
Morning.
We're cozy here at home, even though it's not our own. But wait a few more years and who can say? Everything is just fine. Everything is grand. Your life can get no better when you're living by the letter in this pleasant land. Everything is just fine. Everything is great. The streets can't get no cleaner, nor the rat meat any leaner. No, life is just first rate.
Everything is just fine.
These fish fingers are a steal.
Prices up a smidge.
Just £100 a meal.
Empty purse, but hey, could be worse if there was nothing in the fridge.
Strategic realignment means I get to work for myself. Yay! Hanging off my law degree with tips from each delivery. Excuse me, sir, I have your tandoori. Everything is just fine. Everything is grand. Your life can get no better when you're living by the letter in this pleasant land. Everything is just fine. Everything is great. We're soldiering on. We're doing our bit.
We're off to Dubai. It's time to jump ship.
We're tightening our belts with a stiff upper lip. 'Cause everything is just fine.
I know this was a long intro, longer than normal, but listen, check this out. This video got banned in the UK. They don't want people to see what the answer to all these everyday problems are that they're showing throughout this clip. People are just sort of going through life and acting like everything's just fine, but they actually have an answer. And with that, what's happening, Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you, another cryptocurrency video, and we're getting into the charts today. We're going to see what do we see, what do we anticipate. Right now, Bitcoin coming in right below 115,000 at 114.8K, and we're not going to spend too much time on the Bitcoin price. We talk about this every single video, but we did have this back test from this previous high right here at around 111,000. We came down and did a bump and run potentially. Will we get a continuation? That's what we have to wait and see. Be patient. This was definitely a load up zone, but could Bitcoin go lower? There is a possibility where we could potentially come back, maybe do a double bottom, or we could just have a little bit of a pullback before we come back up towards new all-time high territory. Pay attention to this. If we break this level, there's a lot of confluence that left the charts around 110,000 as well. A lot of previous resistance turned to support, and under that is 106. So are we out the woods yet? Potentially, maybe not all the way. Right now, Bitcoin dominance is still trading in this channel. So people are waiting on alt season. Well, you know, we're not 100% certain that could happen. We did see a lot of alts from this pullback from 60, almost 66% down to 61%. We've seen some things pop, but look, this was similar to right here back in November 24. Some things popped here, but look, Bitcoin didn't stop. The dominance took over even more. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that all of this is institutional demand, because institutions are gobbling up Bitcoin like it's their job. But I mean, it is. Bitcoin treasury companies, that is their job, to buy Bitcoin. So is this upwards channel about to break? Right now, it's not showing any indication of that. Doesn't mean it can't happen. We're still putting in higher highs and higher lows, higher highs. The trend is still intact, and the trend is your friend until the end. So if we break out this channel, you know, we could fall, potentially have a back test. Then that would be something to pay attention to. But right now, we're holding this support. And the narrative is shifting when it comes to billionaires. You hear billionaires making profound statements on Bitcoin. These are the same statements that anons were making on Reddit and Bitcoin Talk 10 plus years ago. Bitcoin hasn't changed. The Overton window has shifted. Shout out to Mandrake. this definitely hits the nail on the head, spot on. Looking at a popular treasury company, Metaplanet, what do we see? What do we anticipate? Now, is Metaplanet out the woods yet? Could we see more downwards pressure? Potentially, but look at this channel. This yellow line, we've just respected this. We've respected the support levels. We came up, came back down, came up, and came back down. Now, one thing to note, we actually did break out of this level temporarily, came back down. Will we hold this 20 moving average, and will this act as a pogo stick for the price action? Well, looking down at the RSI, if we get a horizontal line, you can see these blue lines here, this line here, this here, and this here. These mark the pullbacks of these little micro cycles that we've seen in Metaplanet. So could this be the bottom here, even though it's not the support of this downwards channel? Or could we see Metaplanet come down to maybe tap the 700 range? That's in yen. So we see that this RSI level of 50 has acted as support. Will we hold this level and see a continuation? Either way, it's a buy zone. This is definitely looking like this is going to be a continuation pattern, because we can look at this top too and see right here we hit these levels, you know, this 85 level, the last two peaks here and here. So it's like we having little micro cycles within this Metaplanet move. Right here, this was the first move back in 2024, and you know, you could say that really started February 24 to July of 24. And then this is a little bit of a longer cycle here. And you could say that ended in June of 25. So you've seen July of 24 to June of 25. So that might have been a year-long cycle. And this first one could have been February of 24 to July of 24. Maybe looking more around closer to 6 months, a year long. So we had a 6-month extension of these cycles. So it'll be interesting if this elongates again a year and a half from now. That'd be towards the end of 26. What does this cycle look like once we get this next leg up? But in the short term, we want to pay attention to the 50 range on the RSI. If we break down for this, then you know we could see lower price action. We might not be out the woods yet. But Hayoku is weighing in on this, and let's translate this post so we can read it. It's 9.15 right now, yen. Looking at the yen price, 9.26, so this is relatively the same. If it drops about 100 yen more, I'll estimate it will be the bottom base on the closing price. I ignore things like it momentarily hitting the 700 range. So look right here, he's just looking at these oscillators, the decay oscillator. When it comes up, sell, buy, sell. Right here, we're almost back down to these floors, these buy levels. So are you buying Metaplanet right here? It could be a good investment based off history. Right here, looking at 3350 divided by MSTR, comparing Metaplanet to strategy. What do we see? What do we anticipate? Now, we've been in this channel as well. These channels all look very similar. And could we see lower price action? Yes. Could we come back down to these lower levels here? Potentially. Yeah, we don't see any type of divergences. It's similar levels to pay attention to. Right now, the MACD is crossing over to the downside, and we're not seeing, you know, any bullish divergence on the daily. If we look at this on the weekly, does it look any, or let's look at the 5-day. It just still is in an uptrend, and you see this previous level here, we did hit our head above that, and once, twice, third time's the charm. So when are we going to break through that level? It could be the next time that we get that stair step to the next level before we see a lot of resistance. This might be a zone where you might want to sell off some of your chips if you're playing the trade game, because you see that this was a massive level of support. When we fell through it aggressively. So when we come up and hit this level, we could get a pullback aggressively before we then see a new level to the upside. So pay attention to this comparative most definitely. Ryan, shout out to Ryan, friend of the channel. He's saying this is exactly the type of sentiment capitulation he was waiting for. Someone sold all their shares in Metaplanet today. Can't continue to bag hold when technicals look so bad. We disagree here. This is definitely buying fear. We disagree with Cage Martin's mindset, agree with Ryan's. Let's confirm that. But this is not a time to get fearful. It's a time to be greedy. This is capitulation. We showed you all the charts. We showed you what the technicals look like. Hyoku was showing as well. There could be a little bit more pullback, but this would be the time to get back in most definitely. And looking at the price action, you know, we could, once again, we see these little micro cycles that we talked about. The first one here, the second one. You might have an argument where this second one could be this right here, and then the third one could be this right here. So if we're looking at timeline of each one of these, let's pull out our date range. So, you know, around the bottom will be here to here. We're looking at 146 or 221 days. And then if we pull this to the right, it's a little bit elongated, but the bottom isn't quite right there. Well, the top was actually in, so 190 days. So you're looking at roughly 6 month cycles, maybe a little bit over 6 month cycles. This one was definitely some hype here. So that was only 75 days. That's only a little over 2 months. So 6 months, you'd be looking at roughly around October. So really, this could be a cycle. This could be a cycle. And we still could be in the midst of this third cycle. So to that point, we don't necessarily have to come back down to the bottom of this channel. We still could be in this upwards move. How high could we go? We could go up to, you know, potentially 5,000, 6,000 yen. Pay attention to what's happening. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. If you guys like the content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate each and every one of you. With that, I'm out.